man, has this season been off to a rocky start? You know what I mean? Like,
I hope we could play this back, or someone doesn't play this back on us and like, you guys are full of shit.
I always had a mentor tell me this: the value that people place on you are based upon the problems that you can solve. Have you ever been stood up?
I've actually got stood up one time in my life.
One thing about Mike is that you can do him dirty.
No, we're not gonna put that out there.
I've been stood up once. Come to find out, she was out that night, and she was out with a certain NBA player.
I like hearing the excuse, whether it's BS or not. I want to see how much effort you put into the lie.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, right? My highs and lows inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see, no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement. What's
going on, man?
Let's flat out.
Welcome back to the Last Fly Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or to wherever you listen to your podcasts. And give us a follow across all our social media channels at Last Fly Out Podcast, except on X, where we could be found simply at LFO Podcasts. I'm your host, Jay, and you can find me across all my social media accounts at JLubriel26, and you can find my man Mike at...
You can find me at If Mike Was Here.
So Mike, we got a real special episode for everyone that I'm super excited about today.
Yeah, I mean, we was doing a lot of research. They flew all the way in from out of the country. Let me look at my notes real quick. I want to get this right. Our guest today comes from, we got stood up, bro. Crazy.
So, yeah, so we plan to have a guest today, but unfortunately, this guest has stood us up at the altar, left us at the restaurant waiting for them for over an hour, and it's become quite clear that this person's not coming today, Mike.
Yeah.
So we had to pivot.
Exactly. When did you feel like he was gonna ghost us? Or
I felt like he was gonna ghost us. So this morning, this guest, we confirmed with this person last night.
Yeah.
Person was good to go. Mm-hmm. When I saw on social media this morning at 7:30. That they were still posting, and this person was just out last night.
You gave him the benefit of the doubt. You said he was up early.
I thought, I was like, he got up early because I was up early at this time. And I kind of got the feeling that when this person didn't respond at 11 a.m., it was a wrap.
Oh.
It was a wrap. And when did you think the person was
I got that. Like you said, 11 a.m., I'm like, they didn't text, so I'm on the way. Clarify the location, because the location isn't the easiest to get to.
Right.
So usually everybody always hits us, is this the right location? I'm like, damn, this radio's silent here, so.
So we're giving everybody a live reaction to, I mean, by the time this post, it won't be live, but at least at the time of this recording, it'll be live.
This is live. This is happening today, right now.
It happened today. Person didn't show up. We got stood up. Shout out to Podster for accommodating us in the time, but
had to switch times up. We even gave a grace period as well, extended it a couple hours from the show up, and as of right now, we still haven't heard back.
Yeah, we still have not heard back. So it's okay. And why do you think that maybe this person ghosted us? What do you think happened?
I don't think it was on purpose.
No,
I genuinely think that, I mean, they're out last night doing a performance and all that to the wee hours of the night. I think they're having a great time. Dubai got to them. Another one bites the dust.
Swallowed them up. Dubai swallowed this person up, and
Dubai is undefeated.
He or she is probably enjoying all of the gracious things that the Dubai nightlife have to give. So, but on a more serious note, me and Mike in this very short but intense and intentional and purposeful podcast journey have come to realize that ghosting, getting stood up, getting canceled on is quite common.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. And a more relatable note to the audience, this shouldn't stop you from pursuing anything that you absolutely want to pursue. Getting rejected, people feeling that, not responding to your requests, people absolutely like maybe standing you up. This is the first time we actually been stood up like this. It just sharpens the armor, right? It just hardens us up a little bit, gets us more dedicated. Some people may want to give up after, a couple of times of this happening, but this should just fuel us more, right?
Yeah.
Because eventually we'll get them on the second go around, the third go
Exactly.
around, or the fourth go around. And at the end of the day, me and Mike are always going to remain humble. We don't think anybody's time is more important than ours. We don't think our time is more important than somebody else's. But at the end of the day, what we strive on is that we always want to be professional, responsive, and we want to be responsible. And as people that we are committed. There may be times where I don't want to do something or Mike doesn't want to do something. We hold each other accountable every time, saying, look, we need to commit to what we said we're going to do.
Yeah. And I think this right here, I think we're aware of ourselves, and like we have zero respect in the industry right now. No one knows who we are, but it's fine. We're getting this out the mud, and we're doing what we need to do. And it's going to be a point where it's going to be hard to deny, hard to close that door on us. And this is just, to me, it's just fueling us even more. And just being prepared as far as, all right, even if we have a guest, let's have some backup notes. So it's learning lessons that we're definitely going to take away from
what
this.
What we learned is that people are flaky, and the backup notes are vital.
Yeah.
And how did this experience, I guess, getting stood up for the first? Have you ever been stood up? Like, let's go back. Have you ever been stood up, like, on a date, somebody flaking on you, like, while you in the spot waiting for them or something like that?
I've actually got stood up one time in my life, and it feels
yeah.
I'm telling you, it was to go to a concert.
A concert?
A concert. A comedy show.
Okay, but it doesn't matter. You have to buy tickets.
Yeah, buy tickets. It was a great show. And then a comedy show is something that you don't want to go solo. I do a lot of things solo, but a comedy show is something you don't want to do solo. Exactly. And it was good seats too, like right in front. So, I literally was like, I was going to meet the person there and things like that. And this last minute, I'm like, wait, this person's not responding to me. And I'm just calling them. And literally 5 minutes before the show starts, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to make it. I'm sorry about that. Oh, wow. Yeah. It was like,
it's safe to say, did you keep in contact with this person? You know, Mike, you probably did, because you're so damn nice. You're so damn nice. One thing about Mike is that you can do him dirty.
No, we're not going to put that out there. Hold on, I'm going to just say on the show for the record, no.
So for the record, he didn't maintain any contact with this person. Yeah. I've been stood up once, and I stood up somebody once. But the time I stood this person up is because I completely fell asleep, because I worked my very first job was at the airport, right? And I did an overnight shift. I did an overnight shift and the morning shift, my regular shift. I did the 6 to 2, and this person that couldn't make it had to do I did the 10 to 6 a.m. So I did back to back.
Okay.
By the time I got home that day, I had to help my mom during the day. And by the time I got home, I was supposed to meet this person at 8 o'clock. I completely fell asleep on this person. And mind you, this was a person I was putting in work on. It was my shot, my opportunity.
That'd be the times. Like,
yo, she legitimately sent me this very long text message essay about how she said, this is the reason why I never gave you a chance before. She was calling me out of my name. And I just didn't have... I was so embarrassed. I just never responded to the text message, because everything she said in that text message was true. Like, she called me out, and I was like, damn. And those were those moments I was like, you need to stick on business. You need to stick to your word.
Yeah.
One time I got rejected was actually I got these 1-star Michelin restaurant. I was like in law school at the time.
Yeah.
I had a little money in my pocket, so I was like, I want to show this. We were talking for a little bit. We had gone on coffee dates, lunch dates. So I was like, all right, this is my time to finally get in with this person, show them I'm really interested in them. So I made a reservation at a restaurant that you needed to pre-book tickets, because it was a prefix menu.
Yeah.
Spent the whatever it was, like the $200 per ticket, whatever it was, wine and dine, gonna do the whole experience, got the wine pairing, everything was great. Friday night in New York City, a long week, you're about to de-stress. Really interested in the person. Got to the restaurant, and as I'm walking into the restaurant, she goes and says, it's similar to you, sorry, I got caught up with something, won't be able to make it. Come to find out.
What?
Come to find out.
See them out later that night?
She was out that night, and she was out with a certain NBA player.
Ooh. Who? You
No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. All I'm going to say is that...
Was it a Knicks player?
It was a Brooklyn Nets player.
Oh, no wonder. No wonder he doesn't step foot in the Barclays.
Yeah, I was like, okay, fine. That's... I won't step foot in the Barclays. And I'm definitely Knicks Nation. But that kind of made me realize, like, damn, like, people really don't owe you anything. right?
They don't,
When it
yeah.
comes to this podcast, we don't have any contracts with these people. We're not paying them to come on the show. They're coming out of the pure respect.
They're coming for the respect and the love,
and the love of the platform. So how did this affect my experience for this show? It hasn't. It's just going to be part of the process. However, I don't know what else more we can do than confirming, following up with a person, and then them just leaving us here like this. But it's okay. It's fine. It does not going to stop us from pursuing the podcast. So
definitely
they can continue to do this. The next guest can do this. It's whatever. But just know that it's not going to stop me and Mike from grinding, from having to go ahead and moving forward.
I was gonna say I'd actually have a story. When I semi stood someone up, and semi because I didn't do it on purpose.
Okay.
And this is someone like I asked out where we met first. The vibe when we first met was great. So I'm like, all right, let me take you on a date. Got a number and all that. You're so hyped. You ever been so excited about like, yo, I met this person and it's gonna be on point. Yeah. I told them one time. But then, like, I told them, for example, 8 p.m., but then I had a haircut appointment at 8 p.m., and I didn't realize it. I'm in the barber's chair and all that. She texts me, like, hey, where are you? I'm sitting down at the restaurant. I'm literally just started getting on my cut. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry I'm going to be there. I'm just finishing up my haircut. Please order a drink, whatever you want. I'll be there shortly, She waited about an hour and a half. The resilience and the patience of her. And we ended up having a great time. I was super apologetic to her and everything like that. But she was very patient.
It's kind of like what we want to say now, right? This I guess we can flip this into this negative experience. We're gonna flip into a positive one, right? It's gonna showcase our resilience, right, and our adaptability, our ability to be able to pivot, improvise, create still an engaging episode, and try to get the last file out message out there, which is throughout the journey of having to take a risk, taking your last flight out, there's going to be some turbulence along the way. Doesn't mean that the plane's going to come crashing down, but there's going to be some turbulence around the way. And you just have to kind of trust the process, right? Like we had to go ahead and be like, okay, the show notes, what are we going to talk about? How can we flip this? And at no time did me and Mike ever say, oh, we're going to stop the podcast, feeling bad about ourselves.
All right, what's next?
What's next, right?
Get out the episode docs and let's draw something up.
Yeah, let's draw something up. So look, this is just a message to be resilient. A message to be adaptable, and a message to be able to two-step, right? You gotta be able to pivot. So look at this stage, it's about, I mean, it really challenges your creative mind, right? Because you have to go ahead and be like, if you're sort of like too stringent and not adaptable, I don't know how most people can react to this, right? It's like, I mean, you're a ball player. Sometimes you may come in with a game plan, and if another player on the other side is out, not playing, you kind of have to pivot your game plan a little bit, right? Because your game plan going into the, watching all the film, watching all the tape, you have to kind of do things on the fly a lot of the times here.
And then honestly, this just is a testament to, just to me and you, where we are the creators. We make this show popping or what it is, or we make the show as we're building it. We want people to come for us. Exactly. So any guests that we have, that's just extra on top.
Telling me you don't want them to come for the toys? You don't want them to come for the two great guests that we have today? I'm sorry, guys. My fault. How do you guys feel about this? You guys good?
Shout out to what is it, Rello and Cause.
And Cause. Shout out to them, man. Shout out to them.
I was gonna say though, one thing I feel like with the guests that we had, which was successful, I feel like we always had like kind of a pre-meeting, pre-talk. Went out with them, and then everything went smoothly. I feel like the cold turkey ones, where we just expect them to show up, those are the ones that have been flaky. And we can't always get a pre-meet, but
we can always get a pre-call, something to introduce the show real quick, even 10, 15 minutes to sort of introduce ourselves face to face, so there's sort of that familiarity. But man, has this season been off to a rocky start? You know what I mean? Like I don't know what the basketball or like the sports reference is. It's almost like an NFL starting 0-2, or maybe on a 5-game losing streak to start off the episode. But we're gonna rip off 10 in a row.
We're about to, we're gonna rip off. It's 10 like we're right on that cusp of like anything can happen. And we're swaying back and forth. We're toting the line right now.
And at the same time, kind of echoing what you said, right? At the end of the day, we make this show. right?
Yeah.
Our guests emphasize and they help highlight our show, but at the end of the day, people want to come in to see what Mike and Jay think about things, right? Well, how we stand on things, how we facilitate a conversation, what we're extracting from the individual, how we're getting those relatable messages that we can get out to our audiences. So I don't want to turn into like, yes, there's going to be an element of guests and interviewing here, but at the end of the day, this is a Mike and Jay show. This is not the guest show or the way that the guest is going to make our show or not. We're more than happy with having a great name here and a big name here, and we're more than confident that we will one day. But at the end of the day, we have to prove ourselves, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, didn't you mention in the pre-production meeting that, you know, Gary Vee and other podcasting creators, when they're talking about, you know, people not responding to them, you know, when they were starting their careers, they took it personally.
Yeah.
But now that they're in their positions, they're like, hold on, like I
understand.
did 40 years of this. I put 20 years in the game. We did 4 months of this. We
Yeah,
got
exactly.
a very, very long time before we even get to a place that's remotely close to be able to be like, man, we need to think about this proposal real quick. Or maybe like, you know, look, we
even prioritize who we're responding to.
who we're responding to. But what I will commit to is we will respond to everyone, even if it's a no. Like,
I hope we could play this back, or someone doesn't play this back on us and like, you guys are full of Hollywood. You guys are Hollywood
the
now.
guys are Hollywood chill. Mike is gonna have the Cartier stunner shades. He's gonna be like, nah, I switched up.
Now,
Like,
I'm always try to keep it humble. I'm gonna try to respond to everyone, or at least, you know, definitely I always want to give people a shot and a chance if I see the grind is there.
yeah, no, you have to. I guess you have to commit. I guess this is
We gonna remember these days. You're gonna be like, yo, it's like us.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I remember these days. I'm gonna remember these days. You drove a whole long way to get here from Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I got up early this morning, studying the notes and having to pivot. I was like, oh man, this is not great.
yeah, we're locked in.
And also, you know, tuning into this episode, like we have to give a shout out to the audience, right? Our loyal listeners, supporters, right?
Definitely.
And thank them for the understanding and also their feedback that they constantly give us behind the scenes, right? So it's not something that's easy. It's not something that's, I'm not gonna go ahead and I know we're making light of it right now, but it doesn't feel good, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel great. It kind of reminds you like, oh, you guys got a lot of work to do still, right? Like,
And you know, I was gonna say the initial reaction is it's like getting rejected from a date where we question ourselves. It's like, damn, why they stood us up? Like, are we not official? Are we not legit? Or damn, are we trash? Or do we suck at this?
Yeah, do we suck
You know,
at
for a split second, you question everything.
Yeah, you always have the moment of self-doubt. You always have that moment of questioning why you're doing certain things, the moment why you're like, sort of like, do I need to hit the gym more?
Yeah.
Do I need to get some Botox? You know what I mean? Do I need to get some augmentation to make myself a little bit more attractive? And I say that to say, like, you know, is our platform like actually something that people can relate to? Are we relating to our audience? And you know, the amount of support that we get and the amount of love that we get, the growth that we're going off of a podcast from two people who are relatively unknown, I'm proud of it. Right. And it's something that we continue to grow on. I believe in the message. I believe in the platform. I believe in you. I believe in myself. And there's always going to be some self-doubt. But the problem is not to let the self-doubt paralyze you.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to move forward, have that mama mentality, and be able to put up the shots. Even if you miss 10, 20 in a row, you're going to get to a point where you're making 10, 15 in a row. It's going to feel natural to you.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to put up the shot at all, or you're going to let one miss affect your mood or affect your mentality moving forward, then you're really never built for that journey anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's about being dedicated and having to be able to overcome the obstacle.
Yeah. And I think this is, I think the lessons that we're learning early on where, you know, there's not much spotlight on us. So I think we have room to either make mistakes or room to learn in front of the camera for the audience to grow with us and see how we're maneuvering. And this is going to be so pivotal where imagine when we get to it, if this would have been a smooth ride and we didn't experience any difficulties, what happens when we have a big check in front of us and then we get stood up or, hey guys, on your feet, like, you know,
to be able to, like, you know, being in a board meeting or being in front of a pitch in front of executives, right? If we don't have these sort of experiences, how we're going to draw from them? I'm actually happy that's happening now. Not the time when it actually happens. Well, not the time when it actually
now
matters.
when the big money's on the line, it's like we've never been through this before. And we're going to draw from it. It's like, yeah, we could do this.
Yeah,
like,
we could
come
do
on,
this. I
let's
mean,
pivot.
at the end
Like,
of the
you
day,
know,
we're from New York, so like we've you know,
we
it's
built
like
tough.
getting on the MTA train, like, yo, the one train's not working. We need to take the M15 downtown. we need to connect here. You need to
Exactly.
think on your feet, because if you're not capable of doing that, then I think the value that I always had a mentor tell me this, the value that people place on you are based upon the problems that you can solve.
Yeah.
Right? So if we're not able to solve these relatively small issues in the journey, how are we ever going to be prepared for the big moments when the time is really Mike and Jay, let's see what you're all about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What if we're in a podcast in front of hundreds of people right now doing a live stream, a live episode, and something happens pre-production 10 minutes before? We could be like, we've done this before.
Yeah.
We're able to pivot. So I'm not worried about that.
Definitely not worried.
So let me ask you about this. So comparing this, I guess, this experience right now, and I guess reflecting on your own expectations, is there anything you would have changed to prevent this? Is there anything you could have improved on to prevent a guest from sort of flaking on us or standing us up? Is there anything you feel like we could have done better?
I think we could have, like I said, I think we could have definitely hopped on a call beforehand, get the vibes and all that. Because it was kind of like cold calling almost, and then we just expected them to show up and all that. Because we're stand-up people, and we honor our word. And like you said, it's more of, like we talked about earlier, it's more of just a respect the human thing. If you give your word, because we're not afraid of rejection if you don't want to do something or anything, but just being responsible. And we're self-funded. Studio costs money.
Studio costs money. So we was not letting this time go for nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but at the end,
we're gonna get this show.
We're gonna get the show out. But at the end of the day, like you say, like I said earlier, we don't have a contract with people. We're not paying them for guest fees, right? This is self-funded. This is everything that we're doing on our own. Everything that you see here is me and Mike, right? 50-50 down the line, right? So at the end of the day, what else could we have done aside from follow up? What else could we have done aside from confirm 3 or 4 times, right? We should have had the pre-meet. We should have had the pre-call, which I thought we did. And I thought this person, at least was, I'm not going to say anything about the character because I don't really know this person like that. But in terms of responsibility and commitment, you give your word towards something, I'm going to be there no matter how I feel. And I saw that kind of growing up with my own family, right? They would go out the night before, but they had an appointment. They needed to be somewhere. They need to drive me to baseball practice, whatever practice. They were doing it no matter what. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go ahead and try to say that me and Mike, in order for you to be stand up, you have to hold your word. Because if you don't have your word in this world, what else are you, right?
Yeah.
And if you're only going for certain types of individuals, and I'm thinking you're going to be a social climber, if that's what you want to, if that's your MO, that's your MO. But that's not my MO, right? I want to get to generally enjoy the process of getting to meet new people on this platform, extracting their story, right? Getting it out there to people, inspiring that person. You never know who you can inspire with the words that you have here.
And I think what's going to be interesting in this journey is we're going to realize the type of guests that we're going to have, what level of at the career they're at, and the longevity of it. And I guess which ones are the ones that are responsible on their game, because we're gonna look back at it and we'll be like, okay, this person.
There's a reason why that person was a wave, right?
Yeah,
There's a reason why
exactly.
this person had long-term growth. There's a reason why this person has had that sustainable amount of success over a prolonged period of time. Right. It's because their entire character, the way they interact with people, kind of matches up with how they approach all aspects of their life, how disciplined they are. And that's something that I hold myself to a very high standard of discipline. I say I'm going to do something, I want to do it correctly. I don't want to cut any corners. I don't want to find the shortcut. I want to do it right the first time around, like sign up like what we did with season 1. Yeah. Do it right. It was annoying. It was a lot of work in the background for no monetary value. I mean, like we made no money on the first season, right? We just spent funds, but it was okay going through that process because like any business, we don't expect it to be profitable in the first year. It's unrealistic.
They say it takes 5 years to turn a profit.
It takes like anywhere between 3 to 5 years to turn a profit, and that's the truth, right? And I don't think I'm a special snowflake for thinking that, right? So at the end of the day, I'm going to assume I'm going to be like every other podcast or every other business and take those 3 to 5 years of losses, but those losses aren't going to deter me from continuing this journey, right? Like you said, this is only going to make us better. You know how long it took me to get the introduction for Last Flight Out to a point where I'm not stuttering anymore? If you go back and roll back to the first couple episodes, I was like, oh, welcome to Mike. Like I was confusing you and me, right?
Just even the flow of it,
right?
Now it's
smooth, right? Like, so at the end of the day, like I'm kind of looking forward to more of these setbacks and more of these challenges because it's just going to make us better.
Yeah.
We're going to extract something from it. From this, I don't know what we can extract from this aside from being more resilient, being more adaptable. People are going to be people. People are always going to be people, right?
Yeah.
This is not going to be the first or the last time that somebody stands us up. And that's fine. The only thing I ask, at least have the respect to say, I'm not interested anymore.
Exactly.
At least say that. We're okay with it. All right, cool, no problem.
Or give us the excuse. I like hearing the excuse, whether it's BS or not.
That's Mike's
give
toxic
it to
side.
me. Like,
ladies and gentlemen, that is Mike's toxic side. He like
give it to me. Like,
even if it's lying to him, he wants to hear it. It sounds good. Dale pa allá.
I want to see how much effort you put into the lie. Like,
you're the type of dude who looks at somebody and you lie to them, but like, it sounds good.
it's like, I'm like, you put work into that. Like, I respect it.
It sounds good, man. Has there been, I don't know, has there been, kind of pivoting a little bit off the podcast, has there been any other venture you've ever kind of pursued in your life and you've had a setback and you realized through that setback, you really weren't that dedicated to that? Like something you were like, you know what, this is not really for me. This is not really something I want. Or are you the type of person who's only ever pursued things that you were truly passionate about and you were like, for one reason or another, it just didn't work out?
Let me see. The only time I ever got fired.
You got fired?
Yeah, I got fired.
Me too. I got fired, but you go first.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. I have a reason.
All right, the only time I ever got fired, and so my mantra in life, I'm kind of like I want to be like the Dos Equis man, the most interesting man in the world.
You already are, bro.
So there's a few things on my list that I still got to tick off, but I've literally had tons of different jobs, side hustles, and things like that. So when I got my master's degree and I had my corporate job, my 9 to 5, I also was like, oh, with my master's, I could become a teacher, a professor. So I actually was a professor at this for-profit for-profit school.
Was it a university that was started by an ex-president?
Nah, it was some BS university. It was like you see the advertisements on the train and all that. It was BS.
Were you getting paid?
Huh?
Were you getting paid? Good money?
Paid. I was getting paid $45 an hour.
45 an hour?
Yeah.
The hell
and
were
I
you
was teaching.
What were you teaching,
I was teaching
bro?
Microsoft Word, and one class was Microsoft Word, and then another class was a database class. The basics of database. Like it was just simple, So and what we was practicing on Microsoft Access. That was the database. It was so easy. But the students and the clientele they were getting, it was for profit. So they were getting a lot of immigrants in the US that were there trying to get a visa and all that.
So they were trying to apply to be a student for a student visa to extend their stay in the US.
Exactly. Okay. So, and honestly,
these for-profit institutions were
they're
trash, bro.
Super trash, like long resources and everything like that. Yeah. And I guess I didn't have a passion for it. I was more so doing it as a side hustle, and I thought it would be easy and all that. And I just didn't have the patience for it. And most of the students, shout out to them, they were smart, but the language barrier was hard. So it was to a point where the president of the school, I was like, they're not gonna pass this test. Like it was just simple Microsoft Word stuff. I was like, they're not ready. They're not gonna pass. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the language barrier. They're not gonna pass. He was like, make sure everyone passes. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, make sure everyone passes. I'm like, okay. So I literally gave them the answer sheet. And I'm like, yo, just study the answers. Like, study the answers.
Mike,
let me give you the test.
Don't shout the school out, bro. We can't do this. Delete that.
I don't even think the school is.
If it's on LinkedIn, delete the representative.
The school doesn't even exist anymore.
Oh my God.
And that was my bad. I was
okay. So you gave
them
the answers.
So I gave a group of students. I gave them the answers and all that. They literally didn't understand what I was giving them, and then they asked another teacher that was in the library questions on the answer sheet. And so the other teacher snitched me out, and then I got fired.
That's not cool. Was that other teacher like a good professor? Were they like?
I didn't even know them. They just I just seen them around, but I didn't really interact. Because this is, mind you, I have my 9 to 5, which I'm focused on, and then this is just outcome 6 to 10. So I'm just in and out teaching, and I'm out.
When did you have time to prep for the class?
Oh, on the weekend I would lay out my course.
Okay,
and
you
all
were
that.
outlining your course. All right, so it was a nice little 45 an hour. So you were making $180 for every 4 hours. For every
Yeah.
4 hours. How many times were you teaching a week?
3 times.
What a
was
steal.
nice.
That was your
It
drinking
was
money. That
nice,
was your
yeah.
weekend money, but that was your weekend money.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, you realize you were not a passionate professor.
Exactly. And then I learned, in New York, we tend to have that hustler's mentality, and we tend to, get it by any means necessary. But I learned that is not a good attitude to have, because anything, if you're investing your time in, you want to make sure you believe in it and it's a passion, And then honestly, kind of stop doing things just solely for money.
Yeah.
It has to be a reason behind it. It has to be a purpose.
It has to be intentional and purposeful. Money, profits will always be secondary or third or the fourth on the priority list, because if you're doing it solely for the money, you're going to sell out. You're going to go ahead and do things that don't align with who you are as a person.
Compromise yourself.
You're going to compromise yourself and your platform and your quality of the content. Like, we don't absolutely want to do this. And I think that's the first thing you and I spoke about. What are we doing this for? Are we dedicated to this? Is this just to turn a profit? Or this is trying to get out a message and try to, get out the things that we believe in as people.
Yeah.
So that's
and at the same time, me as a professor, and keep in mind, I was 25, 26 at the time. So I was young, hustling and all that. So, that's not me now. I don't want to take any shortcuts and all that. And I shortchanged probably the students that were there to learn something. So big lessons learned there,
And
Tell me about
oh man, the first time I got fired was actually a job that my dad got me. My dad has always got me like my first jobs, because he's known so many people in the community. So my first job was working at the airport. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say what company I was, but I was in the tower, right, communicating signals from this certain company down to the crew that was actually on the floor. And I had the shift between 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday. Oh no! I had
how old were you?
I was like 19 when I first.
Okay.
But unfortunately, I was like the one with the best English.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I was the one with the best English, and I had the 6 to 2, and it wasn't Monday through Friday. It was the weekend, so it was Saturday, Sunday, Mondays, and like Thursdays or something. The worst schedule you could have as a 19-year-old or 18-year-old. And I was just kind of doing it for the money. I was like 19, 20 years old. I didn't have any money. I was still getting money from my mom at the time. I was like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to build myself a little bit of independence.
Yeah.
And I was just doing it for the money at the time. I didn't really care. Long story short, I went out on a Thursday night, got way too blitzed.
Yeah.
And I didn't show up the next morning. Right?
Okay.
I didn't show up the next morning.
You call in, or?
I called in, said I was sick, but the person fired me. Like legitimately fired me, like the head of the person, which is funny because that's a person that my dad used to work there at that place, and they came up together, and the person just stayed there, and he became the head or whatever it was. But that was probably one of the best lessons I ever met in my life, because I wasn't dedicated to that job, right? How many times have you and I gone out the night before a recording, but we always say, yo, we got to record the next day, right? We're making it, we're responsible, we're prepared. Yeah, we may come up a little groggy, but no matter what, you're dedicated to it. I wasn't dedicated to that job. I wasn't dedicated to what that job, it was just a means to an end for me to pay my phone bill, for me to be able to pay my car insurance at the time, for me to pay the gas to the bar, for the drinks I can barely afford, right? So that's what it really was for. And everything that I've ever ventured into my life, I've always had a sustainable amount of success. It hasn't been much. I don't have many businesses or anything like that, but the businesses that I've had will always serve the purpose. When I was in law school, I kind of had like a little independent contracting business where I was a settlement agent, but that fed a means to an end. I had my job where I worked at a private equity firm. I went to school at night, and I did this contracting. That was kind of like this side hustle that was basically my vacation money and my drinking money and my taking people out to dates money. That's what that served. And when I entered into my legal career, where no longer I needed a side hustle because I made more than enough money, then I didn't need that anymore. It served its purpose, right? This podcast for me, like, it's serving a more fulfilling purpose, a more intentional purpose for me, right? This is sort of to challenge me in my creative end, and this is a very long-term vision. This is something that we can continue going for decades and years, and we don't know what this can transform into. This may start as a podcast. We have no idea how this can transform into, right? And honestly, what I learned is you gotta stick to your guns, man. And that first moment of sort of challenge or an obstacle is really gonna test whether or not you're dedicated to this.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And this is, even though we got stood up here and we're talking about it before this episode, there's been many reasons for us to be like, we're good on this.
Pack it in.
Let's pack it in. It was a good shot. No one's gonna really, everyone's kind of gonna be like, well, that was fun for 8 episodes or whatever. You can keep going, but nah, we're still here.
Yeah, yeah. So, and well, I was gonna say, just knowing me and your personality, when you get fired for performance, I know that's a gut check. You
That's
know,
a
that's
gut check. I got fired because I didn't show up.
oh yeah, which
So,
is part of performance. You know,
yeah,
not
part of
showing
I
up.
didn't
You
show
know?
up. I didn't show
Yeah,
up, but that was a gut check saying like, wow, I'm not as good as I thought I was.
yeah.
And I guess the last segment of this episode, like, has there ever been a moment in your life where you pursued something you realize I'm not really good at this? I'm not really as good as I thought with this as I thought I was.
Um, or so I'm gonna add on to that. Or you're not willing to do what it takes
Yeah,
to
right.
get to that level. Let me see. So another funny one. When I first when I first graduated college, that's when I was a former D3 athlete, so body was in shape. I had the six pack and all of that. I actually pursued modeling.
You
So
did?
yeah, I pursue modeling, and I
Damn.
can say I model because I actually got paid. I modeled for
Yeah,
Montclair
you get
and all
all
that
right.
New
You
York
get
Fashion
paid. You're
Week. Yeah,
professional at it.
yeah,
That's it.
exactly.
You're
So
professional. So you were a professional model for a short period of
for a
time.
short period of time.
Okay, cool.
And then that industry to me is kind of different, not what I'm used to, and all that. And I wasn't willing to go hard and sacrifice and do things or whatever like that, and I'm not someone, and I think both of us, we like to have our work, speak for ourselves. Yep. We don't like to schmooze people or things like that. So, and I wasn't I realized, yeah, this industry is not for me.
Not for you
at all.
Yeah. I think for me, a time where I thought I wasn't as good as I thought I was with something. No, I've been good at everything. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I realized I wasn't gonna be the type of athlete I wanted to be.
Another one too.
Right.
Yeah,
I didn't realize, but at least like for me, my body was just breaking down, man. And
Yeah.
I was always the type of guy that in my mind, I'd go hard in everything that I do. So
Mhm.
nobody ever questioned my tenacity, my work ethic, but
Yeah.
like, my body just couldn't withstand the amount of training, the amount of playing, the amount of grit and the grind that your body's taking. And I have a replaced left hip, right?
Yeah.
That's a no-go. That's a career ender from before your career even started, right?
Yeah.
And look, I couldn't jump the highest. I couldn't run the fastest. I wasn't the strongest. But my thing was always outsmarting people and like looking at the game, being a true student of the game. So that thing where I got reasonable amount of success. But you need to have some physical attributes. And if your body is not holding up, you're donezo, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, I kind of just realized like, okay, well, I'm not going to be an athlete.
But shout out to you being a D1 athlete. D1, that's levels to it.
Yeah, man. But I
Yeah.
mean, at that point,
And you were a great student because you got into law school as well.
Yeah. I mean,
That's-
look,
that's
that
tough.
was great, but like I kind of realized like after high school, like this is not something that's gonna be. This is not something that every time I think about that period of my life, it brings a fair amount of little disappointment in my life.
For real?
Yeah, man, because you always wanted to see if you can take it to the next level, but then I realized that, the legal career wasn't something I could fall back on. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I just kind of wish I kind of played that out a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's all good. I'm happy with where I'm at today. I mean, I wouldn't have met you otherwise. I've met some great people along the way. I wouldn't have never lived in London. There's so many other great things that I attribute that I guess diversion, right?
Yeah.
And sort of like pivot I had to make in my life. That I'm all right with it. I'm at peace with it. I wasn't at peace with it during my 20s, but I'm at peace with it now.
But there's something to that as far as I think both of us had that, and I think hopefully we still have that. Where as a child or as young adults, you kind of have that. I call it I had hoop dreams because I literally thought I was it's fine. I didn't get a scholarship. I'm going D3. I'm about to average 40 points a game, and then I'm gonna get drafted to the NBA. Like that, just insane, unfathomable thought process. And I think we need to sometimes keep that. But I think now that we're more mature, have that work ethic to then back that. If we want to become the biggest podcast that existed, the biggest in the region, the biggest in the world, and the likes of a Joe Rogan, a EYL and all that, let's put that out there. But now we know it's not just going to come to us. We got to work.
The magic's in the work.
Yeah.
Right? There's no magic potion. The magic's in the work. I think with that, Mike, let's cut this one today.
right.
Thank you everyone for tuning in once again. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, share this video. It really helps with our algorithm. You can find me, Jay, at jlubril26. You can find the podcast across all social media platforms at Last Flight Out Podcast, except on X, LFO Podcast. You can find it there, and you can find Mike at
If Mike was here. We appreciate the support, and thanks for following us on this journey.
Thank you so much. See everyone next week. Same time, same place. Peace.
Peace.
My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.